Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. I hope everybody is having a good weekend so far. I hope you're staying healthy, you're staying strong and optimistic. Welcome everyone. This is a members chat class. Everybody is welcome to watch, and in this class we are going to be answering members' questions about English and the IELTS exam in that quest for a Band 9 score. There are definitely some very important facts that everybody should know about the IELTS exam so you can get the maximum band scores possible. And if you have questions, it's important that you get answers for those. Welcome Carolina, our moderator. While we wait for some of your fellow members, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com. That's academicenglishhelp.com and generalieltshelp.com or gieltshelp.com. On both of our websites, we have lots and lots of materials to help you improve, to get you some answers to your questions, teach you skills and strategies. We have over 100 hours of video lessons. Let me just quickly show you our websites. And this is our academic IELTS website here with the blue background. You can click this big red button to join our premium package. It is a one-time payment for lifetime access. Once you join, you have access to your My Student account. And with your My Student account, you have several hundred hours of materials, including a computer-based practice exam. There's 6 of those. You have a fully interactive course that you can use on your tablet or phone through our mobile app as well. You have exams, workbooks, study plans. You have lots and lots of HD lesson videos with strategies and so on. So, and of course you have all of the audio CDs and some more services. For the general IELTS, it's the same idea, green background. Again, click this big red button to join the premium package. It's well worth the investment. Welcome, Arda. And if you have questions, feel free to send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com. Now, we've kind of had this theme of learning and fitness throughout this week's of live classes. That's because we've launched a new YouTube channel that's on a little bit of a different concept. This YouTube channel is called the Fun Run channel, okay? And this is an idea that follows with health and fitness, meaning that people who exercise regularly tend to perform better on exams like IELTS and tend to have more energy. So it's a good way to indirectly boost your scores and have some fun while doing it. Andre, welcome to the class. I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. Of course, we have apps for our websites as well. You can go to your Google Play Store, download Academic IELTS Help and link it to your web account, or download the app General IELTS Help and link that to your web account. Welcome, Nick Hill. Hi, June and Rajveer. Happy birthday, Arda. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Arda. Happy birthday to you. And many more. There you go. A little bit of song to cheer you up. We have got lots more classes next week. This is the last class, or last 2 classes for today. We will have a speaking part 3 class for everyone, where everybody will be able to join the chat. Then we have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off as usual, and then I'm back on Wednesday with more live classes. All right, I'm glad I was able to bring a bit of cheer into your day. That's fantastic. Nothing like a little bit of song to get us going and put a smile on our face. All right. Enjoy every moment of life, students. Life is beautiful. Okay, so just to kick off today's class, so today is a question and answer class, and we will get to questions and answers for our members. Before we do that, yesterday when we finished our writing task 2, or almost finished our writing task 2, I did promise to complete the conclusion of the essay and then show that to you just in case you have some questions about the conclusion, or maybe we can kick off today's Q&A session with some questions about task 2. Up to you, not a big deal. This is an open session. So this week in the members chat classes, we have been dealing with this question here. And I'm just going to read the question, read the essay, and then we can specifically focus on the conclusion with some questions. So here we go. You should spend about 40 minutes on this task. Many people believe that physical fitness is essential for academic performance. How does exercise benefit school performance, and what can people do to maintain a regular fitness routine? Give explanations and examples for your response. Clearly, this is a third-person essay. It's not asking for your opinion. Generally speaking, essays that have concepts which are actual truths that are well proven, like fitness and education go hand in hand, it's not going to be a first-person essay because it's not according to your opinion. 99% or 99.9% of people will agree that exercise and learning go hand in hand. Your job here is simply to explain this concept. So it's no surprise that this is a third-person essay. Okay, so here we have our introductory paragraph, and let me just read the essay. Read with me, practice, and then you can ask me some questions. Okay, so here we go. Modern science has proven a strong connection between exercise and learning. The brain is a biological machine which needs to be healthy in order to perform optimally, and this is essential for students' success throughout their school years. Regular physical exercise is vital for school performance, as it not only aids concentration, but also stamina, and a regular workout routine can be maintained by scheduling and prioritizing it. Okay. Regular physical activity enables the mind to stay calm and focused on intensive learning for prolonged periods of time without significant fatigue. When students engage in 1 hour of daily cardiovascular exercise, such as running and swimming, they can gain the ability to study for 8 to 10 hours a day without being distracted by friends and entertainment. A recent research study of 1,000 students in Australia revealed that learners whom engage in a minimum of 4 hours of weekly exercise not only spend at least 10 hours more on their studies, but also have an average of 1 point higher GPA. Certainly many studies such as this have proven the positive impact of exercise on learning performance. In order for pupils to achieve a regular exercise routine over the course of months and years, it is necessary to both have a timetable set for working out as well as making it of the utmost importance regardless of other commitments. Using tools such as Google Calendar or a wall calendar, a college student can indicate a block of time, such as 8 to 9 a.m. Monday to Friday, for jogging and weight training. Importantly, even if they have distractions, such as friends asking to go for coffee or breakfast, they must choose to stick to their exercise routine instead. Thousands of university students in Australia have gym memberships paid 6 months in advance and attend an hour of exercise regularly because they have made it an essential part of their morning routine. It is these same students who achieve higher scores on their GPA. Now here's the conclusion, okay? And the conclusion usually has 3 parts. So it has your main points restated. So that's kind of like your paraphrase of your thesis. And then it has your argument strengthened. So it basically says, well, here's the idea or here's the argument in a stronger way. So make sure you believe this as the reader. And then some kind of a take-home message. It's like the moral of the story. It's what we learn from the essay. It must be easily understood from the essay, and it cannot be a new idea. Introducing new ideas in the conclusion is a common mistake. It's a big mistake because it lowers coherence. The reader doesn't have any explanations for new ideas in the conclusion, so it makes it confusing. Okay? All right, so here's the conclusion. In conclusion, frequent exercise improves overall brain function, which leads to better and longer attention to study. And in order to maintain this, learners must allocate time and importance to such physical activities. It is clear that the return on invested time and effort is well worth it for students' academic careers. So that's the take-home message. Okay? And that's actually the argument strengthened as well in this case. Okay? We're basically telling the reader that, hey, if you want to get a good investment on your time and you're a student, then invest it into physical exercise. Okay? All right. So that's the conclusion. That's the essay. Andre, before I get to answering your question, any questions about this essay or about the conclusion? So any questions about the essay or this conclusion before we go on? Did anybody else finish this essay yesterday, last night, this morning, today? Yeah, so June is asking, in such third-person essays, we don't need to write I believe, think, or in my opinion, in the thesis. Absolutely not, June. So the voice of the essay is third person. It means that there is no I, me, my, you, okay? So you want to avoid that. June, I highly recommend, if you have not researched this, so it is very, very important for literature and writing. You must have clear knowledge about the rules around first, second, and third person author's voice. It is strongly advised to never mix voices in one essay. Okay, this is quite a strict academic rule, and of course, like with every rule, there are exceptions, but 99% of the time, you never want to mix the first, second, third person voice because your reader will get confused. It's kind of like, who are you now talking about? Yourself, me, the reader, or about people in general? So it can get very, very confusing. Okay, the other rule that's kind of synonymous is you should be very careful about mixing tenses, okay? Generally speaking, you don't want to jump around in tenses when you're writing an essay either. So you don't want to jump from past to present to future participle. That can get very, very confusing, and it's another one of the very common mistakes for learners. So notice how in my conclusion I don't write, it is clear that the return on invested time will be well worth it for students. So I don't use the will be well worth it. I stay in the general present tense as well. Okay? All right. Yeah, good question, June. So make sure to control those voices, okay? And it's not third-party essay, June. It's called the third-person voice. And the other way you'll see that defined, there's lots and lots of material on this if you type this into Google or you research it in literature. The other way you'll see it is the objective voice. And you'll see actually more specific types of third-person voice as well. So first, second, and third person voice of the author, those are kind of top level domains, and then underneath those there's even more specific types of first person, second, and third person essays. So you can really do a lot of research there and get into very specific styles of author voice and writing. Okay, and it's good to know those. Deepika, the conclusion points, okay, so the conclusion, to be clear, generally speaking, for a persuasive essay, okay, because there are different types of conclusions and summaries for different types of essays, but task 2 is a persuasive essay, and for persuasive essays, it's points restated, okay, basically meaning paraphrased, and then you want the argument strengthened. And the logic there is that it's a persuasive essay, so you're giving all these argument points to convince your reader. In the conclusion, you basically want to tell your reader, like, hey, look, I put in all this effort and all these ideas to convince you. Now it's time to believe me, because if you don't believe me at this point, at the end of my essay as the reader, then obviously we have a difference of opinion, right? So that's why you have that. And then you have what's called your take-home message. And that's a very, very important part because it adds value to the reader. So it makes them think. It's like, well, okay, so why did I read this essay, right? All right, so Deepika, that's it, okay? Okay, Artist says, I finished it after, but I deleted mine and copied yours. Okay, Arta, don't do that. So keep both. Share yours, and then I can give you feedback, okay? All right. Nick Hill says, sometimes I face difficulty to restate the 2 points in the conclusion, and I end up repeating the words from my thesis statement. Man, Nick Hill, me too, okay? It is tricky. So it's practice, right? You have to practice, you have to use the thesaurus. So it's a very common challenge, and even the most advanced writers sometimes will get stuck for how to start the conclusion in a clear and effective way. Okay, so I feel your pain, Nick Hill, and there's no simple answer to that. You just have to practice and use a thesaurus. Okay, so Nick Hill's basically asking, like, how do I avoid repeating my main points in the first part of the conclusion? Yeah, that's a tricky one, okay? The answer, Nick Hill, is it takes practice. Use a thesaurus. Okay. The thesaurus, everyone, for those of you who aren't sure, when you open up your Microsoft Word, of course there are paper versions of the thesaurus as well, so it's probably a little bit small, you can't see it, but right beside the spell check, there's a thesaurus function, and you can basically highlight a word like, let's say, practice, and then you can click on the thesaurus and it will give you all kinds of other words like repetition, rehearsal, exercise, preparation, training, run through, drill, and then those will give you more ideas of how you can restate your points. Okay, so use that thesaurus, Nick Hill, and get the opinion of others as well on your essay, and then that will help you. Okay. All right. So Rajvir's conclusion is, in conclusion, regular exercise regimes empowers scholars to remain focused and perform well in their studies. Yeah, Rajveer, that's a great start. So so Nick Hill, there's a good example of a different way to restate the main points. And Rajveer's doing a good job of it too. And it's actually nice, strong vocabulary that Rajveer is using. So you do realize, even though you sometimes get stuck writing the same points and being repetitive, once you get the hang of it, you do realize that there's actually several ways that you can keep paraphrasing and exploring those main points. And then Rajveer writes, therefore, they must create exercise plans and make physical activity a top priority in their daily routines to reap its benefits in their academic pursuits. Yeah, instead of performance, I would write pursuits. And Rajveer, that's very nice writing just now. Okay? All right. Yeah, writing a good conclusion is extremely challenging, students. So I would say that in the real world, and you're going to find this in, especially when you're doing research, like your master's research, and you're doing a publication where it's a really serious piece of writing, and you're writing something that is going to go into the written record of the academic world through online journals and through publications. And I've done that, so I have published journals in developmental neuroscience in my postgraduate studies, and definitely I found the conclusion to be the most challenging part of the writing, to make that great, because that's the last note that you leave your reader on. So writing an amazing conclusion is arguably the most challenging part of literature, okay, for these types of essays. Right? Because they can always be better and better. So you can always wow your reader even more for that finish, right? So sometimes you'll write a conclusion where your reader's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And in rarer situations, you'll write a conclusion where your reader reads the conclusion and they go, wow, that's amazing. I never thought about that. Thank you. Okay, that's kind of the effect. That's the ideal effect of the conclusion. So when IELTS is looking for that Band 9 essay, that's the effect that they're looking for. They're looking for that conclusion which makes the examiner feel like, wow, really? Okay, I haven't thought about it that way, or I haven't really considered this, but that's amazing. Thank you. Like, they actually will remember your conclusion even if they've read 100 essays. So it's that wow factor that your conclusion should elicit. And then you have a great chance of getting a high band score. Okay. All right. Thank you, Carolina, for reiterating that. Okay. Deepika is asking, can we use brand names like Google Calendar? Deepika, yeah, absolutely. So using pop culture is, yeah, a very good idea. And it's a good question, Deepika. So Deepika is asking, can we use brand names? And I'm going to say, or pop culture. Popular culture, right? Like Google Calendar. Or McDonald's. Yeah, there's no copyright or trademark valuation going on with these types of IELTS essays. So the answer here is yes, absolutely, and it's a good idea, okay? So in fact, this is often a good idea because it is very visual, and it is easy for the reader to empathize. Okay, so most people around the world will know McDonald's. I read an article once that said that more people know the word Coca-Cola in the world than Jesus. So there was a global study, I suppose, where they asked people which words they're familiar with, and they discovered that more people are actually familiar with the word Coca-Cola than with the word Jesus, right? So that's quite incredible if you think about it. And certainly by using those kinds of pop culture brands or terminology, you can elicit a lot of connection with your reader because they can identify with what you're writing. So yeah, definitely good to use those as they come to mind. Just make sure they make sense in context, okay? Akshay, how do I use therefore and thereby? Therefore is cause and effect, so as a result, okay? It's raining outside, therefore I will take my umbrella, so showing cause and effect. Thereby it's a different word, okay? It's a different connective. It means in that way or through that method, okay? UNICEF collected over $1 million, thereby feeding the natural disaster-stricken community for the next 2 weeks, okay? So through the method of collecting $1 million, UNICEF was able to give food to people who suffered from an earthquake. So thereby they were able to help. So through that method, okay? So it's kind of like therefore, but it's a little bit more specific. It's meaning through that method, okay? Arda is saying, therefore is a formal word of so, Akshay. Not quite, Arda. So and therefore are slightly different, okay? Arda, so keep this in mind. You're kind of right, Arda, but you have to understand an important difference between so and therefore. So is a coordinating conjunction, and therefore is a subordinating conjunction. Okay, so if we want to get really technical, you do have to keep this in mind. Okay, so is a coordinating conjunction. It belongs to that limited set of coordinating conjunctions, the fanboys, for, and, nor, but, so, yet, if I got all of them, and therefore belongs to the set of cause and effect subordinating conjunctions like as a result, therefore, since. Okay, so keep that in mind. A little bit different rules when it comes to grammar. So yes, they're both showing a relationship of causality, but they belong to different types of grammar rules. So keep that in mind, okay? All right. And therefore does tend to sound more formal, Arda. That's true, okay? All right. All right. Let me see. I think I might have jumped a couple of questions. Andre, yeah, sorry, Andre. I promised I would answer your question. So Andre had a question way before. Andre was asking, how can I improve my spoken English in a fast way? Yeah, that's a good question, Andre. I mean, that's a very general, broad question. And there are a couple of good answers for that. So how can I improve my spoken English in a fast way? Very good question. Okay. There's a very good answer for this. It's not easy. Okay. It's not an easy answer, but it is the answer. So use English or speak English all the time and without shame. Okay, like a 3-year-old child. It sounds kind of weird to say this, and some of you might be like, why did Adrian tell me to do that? But that is the fastest way to learn to speak a language. That's why children are very good at learning languages. Children have some advantages, of course. Their brain works a little bit differently. They don't translate, for example, right? So they just learn from context and a lot of repetition. But one natural skill that children have is that they just speak, and they speak without shame. Okay, so they don't worry about being embarrassed. And adults, one of the kind of ironic developments as we grow old is that we have this ego that we really want to protect, and we think everybody is paying attention to us and everybody cares so much about what we say and how we say it. And it's sometimes true, but in many cases it's not as true as we think. Now, 3-year-olds or 2-year-olds, they don't care so much. They don't have as much shame. They poop their diapers. They got some stinky pants. I know, I've got a 5-year-old and a newborn right now. They don't care. It happened. Oops. Right? So living life without shame, it's a good skill to work on. So through our teenage years, we start to really build this concept of the ego and ourselves, and along with that, we build a lot of this feeling of shame when we make mistakes, or becoming embarrassed when something isn't as clear as we think it should be. And the world is a lot more subjective than we tend to believe. And there's no need for all that shame. So to improve your speaking quickly, Andre, you just need to let go of that, and you just need to speak. Okay? So don't worry about mistakes. Mistakes are natural. If somebody laughs, that's their problem, not yours. At the end of the day, you will be the one laughing because you will have better English skills. And that's really, the best single answer that I can give you. You should get lots of feedback. You should record your speaking. There are lots of different ways to practice, but at the end of the day, speak all the time and speak without shame. Okay? That's your key to learning a language quickly. Okay? All right, let me try to catch up with where we're at right now. I think Rajveer was asking me a question here as well. Yeah, there it is. So Rajveer says, in the first body paragraph, shouldn't we use a comma to highlight the additive clause in the connecting and concluding sentence? Let me take a look, Rajveer, and then I'll get back to you. So, yeah, okay, I see where you're going with this. Yeah, I agree. That would be an improvement. So grammar check is not catching that, but you're saying put a comma here and here, and that's good advice. And I think with the flow of the reading, it's good advice as well. So certainly many studies such as this, have proven the positive impact of exercise on learning and performance. Yeah, I think that those two commas make sense, and it is a good correction to the writing. I believe some English professors might say that in this case it's not absolutely necessary in the flow of the sentence, but yeah, to be on the safe side, we could add that, okay? Yeah, that was a good one, Rajveer. So additive clause, oftentimes, and I think the reason why, Rajveer, you caught this so quickly is because of the such as. So oftentimes when you're using such as in your writing, you're giving an example, right? Such as introduces an example. It's definitely good to learn how to use this expression, such as. And in many cases, and I'm sure Rajveer is familiar with this, when you use such as, you're creating an additive idea. So you're basically adding a piece of information into your sentence. You're inserting that piece. And when you insert a piece like that, you put commas on both sides of it as an additive clause, okay, to your writing. So good question, Rajveer, about that. Yeah, and highlighting the use of that. Okay. All right. All right. So let's see. Arda is asking, I find the 1 minute preparation time short in speaking part 2 and cannot generate creative and unique ideas. How do I get over this? Yeah, Arda, okay, good question. So when we do our speaking part 2 exercise in these live classes, yeah, I give you a lot of information to think about, right? So thinking about the topic, the controlling idea, the category, place, person, object, event, idea, about what you need for each of those, as well as coming up with some unique ideas and then creating some notes and your first sentence, and you have to do all that in 1 minute. Whew, that's tough. Yeah, I agree. That's tough, and it takes practice. And artists specifically focusing on those creative and unique ideas. Be visual, Arda. So try to visually see the concept and try to draw on information from your own experiences or from movies that you've seen, from songs that you've heard. It's definitely like, so let's say you're having a little bit of trouble in the 1 minute preparation time. Okay, Arda? So, Arda, I'm going to kind of rephrase what you're saying. So, okay, I'm not going to use your name here. I'm just going to give the advice instead, okay? So, in the cue card, so speaking part 2, okay, in the 1 minute preparation time, the most important 2 steps are A, coming up with 3 good ideas to choose from, and B, getting your first sentence ready. So even if you do not have time for other steps, like notes, okay, you should do A and B, okay? So basically what I'm saying here is that even if you can't do all of those steps of what, why, how, critical thinking about topic, controlling idea, and so forth, the 2 most important steps, and I don't think we've ever talked about this, are definitely to come up with at least 3 ideas. One of the ways that a lot of students lose a half band, 1 band, or even more is by coming up with a difficult idea or an inaccurate off-topic idea for part 2, and then that ruins their part 3 thinking and responses as well. So you definitely do want to come up with at least 2 to 3 good ideas to choose from for part 2, because oftentimes your first thought is not your best thought, okay? So Arda, you do have to work on that, and you want to practice that, you want to visualize it, think about what 10 people would say, okay? Never spell that word, feud. There we go. I believe that's it. So there's a game show called Family Feud. It's all around that idea of what are the most popular ideas, right? Like they'll have a topic like things people keep in their pocket, okay? And then number 1 answer, keys. Number 2 answer, wallet. Number 3 answer, tissue paper, okay? So there's actually a game show that focuses on this very concept of what are the most popular concepts for these kinds of questions. So if you ever want to do something fun and practice for part 2, you could check out a game show. I think it's had lots of different hosts over the years, and it's a game show that's been on American and Canadian television for probably like 30 years. And it's called Family Feud, and it focuses around the idea of what are the most popular answers for these kinds of concepts that Part 2 cue cards often deal with, like talk about an item that you keep in your pocket, or discuss an important event in high school, okay? And you'll see Family Feud will often have these kinds of cue card topics, and then people have to kind of guess what are these most popular answers to these questions. So that's kind of a fun way to improve your thinking around cue cards by watching some of these game shows and also improving your English. So check it out, okay? Family Feud, and participate. So if you're watching it on YouTube or if you're downloading some episodes or something, when they ask the question, pause the video, try to guess what it is, and then see how well you do compared to the other contestants on what they say for these kinds of, so you can kind of play along, okay, with Family Feud. Okay, so Akshay is saying, I'm facing issues with 2+ verb and verb ing. Okay, Akshay, simple answer there is review your gerunds and infinitives. So, 2 plus verb, infinitive versus verb plus ing is the gerund. So if you are unclear about this difference, you have to review and practice your grammar for infinitive and gerunds, okay? Yeah. All right. That's without going into like a 3-hour class on gerunds and infinitives and different contexts and grammar rules around that. Okay, students, I'm going to stop here for today. Okay, I think there were lots of great questions, and I hope you've got some further clarity on what to do and how to do. A nice broad range of questions in today's class. Again, happy birthday to you, Arda. I hope that your day is filled with fun, happiness, lots of love from those you care about around you. And again, remember, students, you can always visit aehelp.com to get more answers to your questions, and glshelp.com for general IELTS. I'll quickly show our viewers one more time what those look like. This is our general IELTS website here. You can click that big red button to join the premium package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. The academic one, I've logged in, and when you're in your My Student account, you'll find a forum and a blog where you can ask other students questions, you can ask us questions, and you can also access the blog for some very common questions that people face in the IELTS exam, okay? So that's it for right now. I will be back in about 40 minutes for speaking part 3, okay? So speaking part 3, exercise and practice, and we'll do that together. So stick around, take a break, maybe have some breakfast if it's early for you. If it's later, have a snack. Get some refreshments, hydrate, and then come back and let's do some speaking practice. So thank you everyone for participating in the class. You're very welcome, Rajveer, Rashika. Thank you, Carolina, for moderating, and see you shortly. I'm Adrian. I'm signing out for now. Bye.